Let me tell you this. The older you do get, the more rules are gonna try to get you to follow. You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
G'day. Just wanted to do a quick video about a brother from another mother who called me up yesterday and gave me some news. He buckled. He gave in. He was beaten. But you know, he did it to keep his job at a country pub. I had told him in the past that his boss didn't respect him and didn't give a shit about him, but he thought his boss was alright. But I can't blame him, mate. He was coerced, he was pushed, he was under a lot of pressure to do something that he didn't want to do in the first place. And I had expected it, to be honest. I was hoping against hope. You know, you gotta be an optimist sometimes. But it brought up a thing that I'd read in a book that I've had in my library for a bunch of years now. It's Aldous Huxley's Brave New World Revisited. Now, probably a lot of you out there don't know that Aldous or Mr. Huxley did this book. They just know Brave New World. But I'm just going to read a couple of pages. So here we go. In the two preceding chapters, I've described the techniques of what may be called wholesale mind manipulation, as practiced by the greatest demagogue and the most successful salesman in recorded history. That's Mr. Adolf, just in case. But no human problem can be solved by wholesale methods alone. The shotgun has its place, but so has the hypodermic syringe. In the chapters that follow, I shall describe some of the more effective techniques for manipulating not crowds, not entire publics, but isolated individuals. In the course of his epoch-making experiments on the conditioned reflex, Ivan Pavlov, if you don't know who that is, look him up, really important. Pavlov observed that when subjected to prolonged physical or psychic stress, laboratory animals exhibit all the symptoms of a nervous breakdown. Now, symptoms of a nervous breakdown, I mean, there could be depression, anxiety, drinking a lot. All of these things were what my brother was showing. He wasn't able to give me any definite reason as to why any of these feelings were present within him, but he was well aware that these feelings were present and they were affecting him. So, back to the book. Refusing to cope any longer with the intolerable situation, their brains go on strike, so to speak, and either stop working altogether, the dog loses consciousness, or else resort to slowdowns and sabotage. The dog behaves unrealistically or develops the kind of physical symptoms which, in a human being, we would call hysterical. Some animals are more resistant to stress than others. Dogs possessing what Pavlov called a strong excitatory condition, so hyperactive, energetic dogs, they break down much more quickly than dogs of a more lively, as opposed to choleric or agitated temperament. So the more chill the dog, the longer it would last. Similarly, weak inhibitory dogs reach the end of their tether much sooner than do calm, imperturbable dogs. Me, I would be a calm, imperturbable dog in terms. But even the most stoical dog is unable to resist indefinitely. If the stress to which he is subjected is sufficiently intense or sufficiently prolonged, he will end by breaking down as abjectly and as completely as the weakest of his kind. Pavlov's findings were confirmed in the most distressing manner, and on a very large scale, during the 2 world wars. As a result of a single catastrophic experience, or of a succession of terrors less appalling but more frequently repeated, soldiers develop a number of disabling psychophysical symptoms. Temporary unconsciousness, extreme agitation, lethargy, functional blindness, or even paralysis, completely unrealistic responses to the challenge of events, strange reversals of lifelong patterns of behavior. All the symptoms which Pavlov observed in his dogs reappeared among the victims of what in the First World War was called shell shock. In the Second they called it battle fatigue, and nowadays they call it post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. That's a fun fucking thing to go through, I tell you. Every man, like every dog, has his own individual limit of endurance. Most men reach their limit after about 30 days or more. 30 days of more or less continuous stress under the conditions of modern combat. The more than averagely susceptible succumb in only 15 days. The more than averagely tough can resist for 45 or even 50 days. Strong or weak, in the long run, all of them break down. All that is to say, of those who are initially sane. For, ironically enough, the only people who can hold up indefinitely under the stress of modern war are psychotics. Individual insanity is immune to the consequences of collective insanity. Okay. I think that's a pretty important point to remember here, boys and girls. The fact that every individual has his breaking point has been known and in a crude, unscientific way exploited from time immemorial. In some cases, man's dreadful inhumanity to man has been inspired by the love of cruelty for its own horrible and fascinating sake. More often, however, pure sadism was tempered by utilitarianism, theology, or reasons of state. Physical torture and other forms of stress were inflicted by lawyers in order to loosen the tongues of reluctant witnesses, by clergymen in order to punish the unorthodox and induce them to change their opinions, by the secret police to extract confessions from persons suspected of being hostile to the government. So, some good words there by Mr. Huxley. Good book if you've not read it. Check out Brave New World Revisited. I've got an original 1958 copy, first print. So yeah, I'm sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. I've been most upset and spent most of last night with tears. I couldn't save him.